Okay, YouTubers, welcome to Kung Fu Africa number 2. I'm your host, Echo Frank Grey Wolf. This is my final video for tonight. I hope you enjoyed my two improving scenes. And now let me explain when I talked about the native not wanting to be native. There was a quote from Russell Means, and it said, "Today is a good day," or a native can be whatever he wanted to be, except a native. And I almost gave that quote away to the Pretendians on TikTok. So I caught myself, and I know that out of the 598 of you, I pray that none of you are actually Pretendians. And if I did, I just fucked up and gave you guys something that's very special. Because Russell Means was a champion amongst champions about the Native American people. And basically it says a Native man can be anything he wants to be but a Native man. So drawing from that and my own personal pain is why I did that scene. See, I grew up here in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I am a mixed person. No one knew I was part Native American until my 5th grade teacher outed me over me being able to carve some fucking canoes. And as I had to tell her after my mom spanked my ass for carving up all her Dow soap, because I was trying to cheat, because Dow is basically shaped like a canoe, and if you cut it in half, depending on what bar of Dow you buy, and Dove is also shaped like a canoe, just in case you kids have to do that still and you want to cheat, just get a bottle of Dove and carve out the inside and then just scale around it. Anyway, and get the right tools, because a spoon and a butter knife doesn't work. Get carving stuff. Anyway, I never had a really bad Native American experience. By that I mean by being part Native. I've had some experiences, but not from natives until I got into my 20s. And this is important because of the simple fact that now that I'm building myself out as a native for acting so that I can actually have a career versus being a mixed person with no career, I want to give you guys a few things that I didn't pay attention to. First, before my bad experience, while trying to get into the movie Evan Almighty, a native casting director had questioned me about my indigeneity, and I am always honest, and I said, "No, ma'am, I'm partially native." And her exact words were, "You're native enough to pass, and you should carry your ass down to either North Carolina or South Carolina," because they was filming the movie Conquest 1492. I didn't have a car, opportunity gone. Now, before that, there was never an issue about my indigeneity, because black people and white people and racist people would never let me forget that I'm a half-breed, or in my case, a multiracial person. All throughout school, from kindergarten to college, I was bullied over something, but this was one of the main things. So watching TV shows like The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, What's Happening, Good Times, and even Silver Spoons, really didn't have a lot of native representation, but they had a lot of people who were mixed on some of these shows, which allowed people who watched these shows, who went to school with me as children, to get away with calling me stuff like Susie Q, Zebra, Half-Breed, Tonto, and Julio. Julio came from Sanford and Son. He was the Taino guy who had the pet coat. There was the Tonto dance, and there were other things around me. And growing up with this made me hate not being either all native or being mixed. It really fucking sucked, because no one would just let me be a human being. No one. They would just, "You're a half-breed, you're a half-breed, you're a half-breed." And before I was outed, they just thought that I was part black and part white, because my mom's mixed and she's white presenting. Her dad is mixed. He was a quadroon or octoroon. He's white presenting. So I know we have a lot of white blood. My dad's Afro-Indigenous. His dad was black. His mom was mixed native. So we have a little bit there. Her mom is mixed native or all native. and she's out of Charles City. There's a tribe there. I give you nothing more than that so that you don't have any more information that can be used against any Native American from Virginia, which is where I am, which is where I stand. And well, I don't know how their lives were affected, but I do know that my mom and I probably had to travel down similar paths about proving that we had black in us because of facial structure and skin tone. All of my siblings, we have different skin tones. This is not my true color. This is my true color. I'm actually high yellow. I've also been called high yellow by black people. And unfortunately, I have had the most racist experiences from black people because I am mixed. And they never let me forget it. Now, my friends, the mixed ones and the non-mixed ones, they understood. They went through the same journey. They just didn't have people doing this. They didn't have people doing that. Or the Tonto dance around my desk, which didn't start until my 5th grade teacher outed me. And then I went from being a zebra to Tonto to, that kind of shit. Not cool. By the time I got old enough to work, it only got worse. Kids in school stopped, but society started. A lot of that's Lou Diamond Phillips' fault because of Young Guns and because of the word chief in Renegades. I happen to be the victim of that by a white man. I'm not going to say he's racist. He was just going through some shit. But that's me kind of defending the racist shit that he did to me, which was more like every day for 3 years at work from the age of 16 to the age of 19. He would not call me by my name. He would only call me Chief. Now, in between that and being mistaken for a Filipino and Tiger Woods and Ernie Reyes Jr. and anybody else that looked Asian, I've been through some shit. And then when I hit my 20s, my very first bad Native American experience happened. And what that was there was a very beautiful girl who was Native. She was a wheelchair basketball player. I think she had like one leg shorter than the other or some shit was going on with her. But she was one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen in my fucking life. The problem was she had 2 uncles who didn't like half-breeds. Unless you were the Mohawk Chief's son, which is who set them straight. Thank you for that, Courtney. But prior to Courtney having words with them, I was talking to her. And, she was single and she was like 18, 19, and I'm 20, 23, somewhere in there. And I'm talking to her because there's like no Native Americans in Charlottesville. Like, not really. If there's some half-breeds out there, I haven't found them other than the one, my boy Chris Roberts, and he's half Inuit. So, his path is a little bit better than mine because he's also part white. Where I'm triracial, he's biracial. So, he didn't have too many problems, and his culture was very prominent in his life where my culture was not. Alright? And certain things I have flashes and certain things I don't. And we will get into that. So, after I tell you the story about the 2 uncles. So the 2 uncles, the first one rolled up on me. He was the youngest of the 3 brothers. Because her daddy was the oldest brother. And he wasn't there. But the 2 uncles rolled up. The first uncle rolled up. And we were at the Jefferson School before they put the parking lot there. There was just a big hill and an oak tree. And the uncle looked at me. And he sent her. He shooed her away quickly. Because he rolled up on me from the direction that she was facing. And me and her, we were having the best time. She could have been my wife. And my life probably would have been way better than it is now. He rolled up on her and said, Didn't even speak in their language, or he just beckoned her to get the fuck out. And so she left. She respected him and she rolled out. She wasn't in her chair. She walked off. And he looked at me and said, "You're not a pure native. You're a mixed native. You have black in you. Don't talk to my niece. We don't want your kind tainting our bloodline." Never was I prepared for that shit. The problem is, I'm hood through and through, yo. I've been fighting since I was 6 years old. As long as I don't start the fight, it's not a problem. And I didn't start the fight. But the argument was about to become a fight. But I have honor because I'm a martial artist. And I have respect. still hurts to the day to remember it, but it's not like dramatic pain. It's just like it's kind of funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. And I looked at him and said, "Hey man, I didn't get a choice that my great grandmother had a baby with a man who had a baby with another man who happened to be black. And on my other side, my grandma's adopted and she was raised black, but she's part native and part black. Her husband was a quadroon or octoroon and very white presenting. You understand the bloodline now? I am extremely mixed." So I asked him, I said, "Are you paralyzed from the waist down or can you get up?" And he's like, "No, I'm paralyzed from the waist down." So before we continue, I know what you're thinking. In wheelchair basketball, you can actually be an able-bodied person and play with the wheelchair people. You don't have to be crippled at all to play. That's been the rules since its inception, I guess, because I used to film it all the time. And he told me that he could not get up, which means I could not fight him because there would have been no honor in fighting a man who can't stand up. So I looked down at him and I said, "All right, but you can't get up out that wheelchair, so my next step is really simply this. Either you roll away or I roll your ass into that oak tree. Can you get out of that chair before you hit that fucking tree? And we're going to see how much you like being fucked up by an unpure native." So he rolled away. But his big brother, who's the middle of the three men, rolled up on me with his Jan Brady syndrome. He heard the whole thing. And I looked at him and I asked him the same thing. I said, "Are you paralyzed from the waist down? Or can you actually get out that chair and fight?" And he's like, "I am also paralyzed from the waist down." I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to give you the same option I gave your brother. You can roll the fuck away, or I will roll you into oncoming traffic." He also rolled the fuck away. About that time, the chief son of a Mohawk came up and talked to me, and he's like, "Yo, you alright?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a real bad dose of reality on mixed natives who are part black and what some of us have to face." I was not prepared for this shit because my great grandmother never prepared me for this shit. All the fucking folklore and fantasies and sleep and shit that she taught me never taught me about racist natives. I never thought natives were racist. Never did I ever think that. I found out though. It's not all of them, but it was a pretty good chunk that day. So, I mean, 2 races is too many. And so Courtney and I talked, and he went in and set those boys straight. And he's part white and part Mohawk, but his Mohawk, he's got high standing. His daddy's the chief. So he apologized to me. They didn't. And he told me just stay the hell away from him. And I was like, "Man, I really like that girl." He said, "Yeah, just stay away from it because it's only going to make it worse for you." And so I don't think natives, like certain Asian cultures, you can challenge the father for the hand of the daughter. I don't recall that being a native thing, but I know for certain Asian stuff, because I do Kung Fu, i.e. the channel's called Kung Fu Havoc. And those are also legendary tales from Asia. So I couldn't really challenge anybody for the fucking hand of the daughter if all 3 of the people are in wheelchairs. So hopefully they're living fine, but it was just one of those hurtful moments that I wasn't prepared for. It was the worst native experience I had next to the white guy calling me chief for 3 years. Outside of that, those are the times where I hated being mixed. And I was like, I really just want to be black. I really just fucking want to be black because I won't have to go through this shit. On a side note, though, before all that happened, the only people that would not let me be black were black people. You're not one of us. You're never going to be one of us. You're not black. You're not black. You're not black. And that went from my childhood into my adult life, and even on fucking Facebook, where there was an incident that involved black people, and I spoke up about it. Let me see if I can show y'all like these goddamn Facebook bubbles so y'all won't think I'm insane. The phone cuts back on. Alright. Hopefully that won't be nothing nude. Okay. So these Facebook bubbles. when they first came out. I was in a group and an incident happened with black people. And I'm going to take a selfie. The black people in the group, literally, all of them came at me at once. No Diddy. And said, "You ain't even black. Why are you involved in this conversation? You ain't even black." So then I had to prove my blackness to them. Now I know that sounds out of left field, but it was true. I had to prove my blackness to them. And it was something that I've had to do all my fucking life towards black people. You know? And it's not something that I brag about. And then with white people, it's been, "You're a zebra, you're not really one of us. And you're going to tell all the black kids our secrets." And the black kids would say the same thing. And then once I was outed by my 5th grade teacher, it was, "Don't trust James. He's not black or white. He's a fucking Indian." And these are the things that just sit with you for a while when you're a mixed person. And they stay. And sometimes they hurt. And if you don't get it off your chest, or if you don't speak up about it, they will destroy you from the inside out. So I did have a tiny identity crisis because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted so fucking bad, man. And it just wasn't happening. You know? So eventually I got over it and accepted myself, and I understand that there are 3 bloodlines running through this body: black, white, and native. From my great grandmother, Ada, I learned stories, folklore. Didn't learn the language. From my aunts who grew up with her, they only talked about how much she cried all the time. But while I was with her, she never shedded one fucking tear. We played with refrigerator magnets that looked like fruit. I only had her until I was 10. She died in 83. I was born in 73. I missed at least one summer with her. So, there's that. So for anybody out here who's mixed, and I'm not going to give into all the TikTok bullshit about DNA and all this bullshit, and I did take my DNA, and I'm not going to reveal it to anybody. I know who the fuck I am, and I'm not fighting because I also know that I am not a full-blooded Native American. And before the ninth ether beings arrived on TikTok, riding griffins, dragons, and Kodiak bears, I was well on my way to my reconnecting journey, and I put it on hold so that I could fight the pretendians. Shout out to the Adjustment Syndicate. Shout out to Port City. Shout out to our historic foundation. Shout out to everybody fighting this bullshit to stop pretendians who are black people who may or may not have Native heritage, but erasing black culture and Native culture in one fell swipe because they hate themselves. I've been there. I hate it myself. I hate it being mixed. Being mixed is not a fucking pleasure cruise. Especially when no one wants to accept you. Or no one allows you to just be a human and be in their presence, in their midst, without saying things like, mixed people shouldn't be breathing our air. And for the record, I'm also short. I'm 5'3". Alright? Thank God I know Kung Fu. But I was always bullied. Always bullied. From kindergarten to college, I was always bullied. The last bully I had in college was a cop. I'm so waiting for him to fuck up. So whenever he fucks up and that lawsuit comes out, I'm going to be right there. I'm going to keep my eye on the paper, and if they say anybody who ever had a problem with officer such and such, please call this number. And if it's on TikTok, if it's on Instagram, and it comes across my FYP, this guy is going to get the payback that he did because he threatened to arrest me for cussing, but yet he let the black guy from the army cuss. So yeah, I've had a lot of racist incidences for being part Native, part black, and part white. And being mixed is not an easy road. However, the first thing you need to understand about being mixed, you need to accept you. Because being mixed is your forever challenge. So when I did that scene, it took everything I could to not get emotional about that shit. Because there were times where I just wanted to be black. I literally just wanted to be black. And black people would never let that shit happen. Never. And white people, I would never be white. I already know. And if you're white and you're watching this, I'm sorry if that offends you, but I'm never going to be white. Hi, yellow. But I'm never going to be white. And natives, if you're watching, to the natives that accept me, thank you. To the natives that rejected me, well, thank you too. Because it just goes to show who's the human and who's the piece of filth. I don't want to build myself out as a native. Let's make that clear. I want it to be a mixed hero so that mixed children could have a hero. I'm 51, and now I have no choice. I have to be Echo Fang Grey Wolf. To survive, to get into this business, I have to build myself out as a native. So if you're native and you're watching this, just give me your blessings. You don't have to like me, but just give me your fucking blessings. You know, and pray that I do this shit right. You know? And also, I promise, as a person who's mixed native, before I film anything, whether the companies like it or not, they're going to have to get someone to come in and bless me and everything that I'm going to touch so that the movie won't have any problems. And don't get me wrong, I'm not superstitious. But if I'm going to honor my ancestors and build myself out as a native, the least I can do is do something traditional for once instead of just be a black man disguised as a native, disguised as a black man. That was from Tropic Thunder. But it was cool when I said it. Anyway, that being said, I am Echo Fang Grey Wolf. I hope that explains the scene that I did with the guy not wanting to be native. There are some of us out there that are mixed that don't want to reconnect. I didn't want to reconnect before an Afro-Indigenous man set me down at McGuire and said, you really need to reconnect with your people. I was like, I don't want to reconnect. I know I'm part native. I'm happy with being part native. It took a long time for me to get here. I said, well, you can go further if you reconnect. Which basically means I have to start all over. I don't have any money right now to go on that journey, and I'm not going to ask any of you for it. I mean, it's just Charles City. It's right down the fucking road. I have to figure out where I'm going to sleep on that reconnecting journey. I will be calling them because my great-grandmother is buried at Little Elm Church. And I had been reaching out to them a couple of years back, and then shit happened. My Aunt Ruth died. My Uncle Wendell died. Somebody else died. Somebody else killed themselves. It's been a rough 2024. Now, entering 2025, and that dream I had and the kid that my sister knew killed himself. Yeah. My book's also about to drop. So there's a lot of shit going on. So me committing suicide is not an option. But I do want to say thank you all for being here. So thank you for being here. I'm Echo Fang Grey Wolf. This is Kung Fu Having number 2. Be seeing ya.